Well, after Paris Saint-Germain and Bayern München's thrilling 5-4 game, we're going to be watching this video here. The tactics behind an all-time classic for football made simple. You can go and check out the video link in the description down below. But we're going to be reacting to this tactical analytical review of the game and see maybe there was something we'll miss from the game. Buckle up, bring your popcorn. I got my water. And let's do this.
The most vulnerable stages for both teams in football is the state between the different moments of the game, and that was on full display in the encounter between PSG and Bayern Munich. And the match also showed how some of the things we praise Bayern and
Okay, so attacking transition, organized attack, defensive transition. What's a defensive transition? When you're transitioning from defense to
PSG for over the past few months could be the reason that they lift the trophy or that they crash out next week. So let's take a look at the tactics, beginning with PSG in possession. And Bayern were extremely aggressive in their press, and they have been one of the biggest proponents of man-to-man marking.
Yeah, I mean, look, Bayern, Club World Cup, quarterfinal we played, and in the group stage. I don't remember that much from the group stage game from last season in the Champions League, but I've never seen a team press us like Bayern do. And second of all, that also means we don't keep the possession. I think we have probably the highest average possession in Europe's top 5 leagues in the Champions League. But every single time we face Bayern, they have more possession than us. A lot of it has to do with the pressing. They're great with the ball, but it's their pressing. And then Luis Enrique, for an interesting reason, like we pressed Liverpool harder, we pressed Chelsea harder. We didn't press Bayern as hard as we press some other teams. Maybe it's because Neuer is great with the ball at his feet, but Bayern definitely way more, or not way more, but more ruthless. They're a little bit more like Flick's Barca in the sense of their pressing. They're very, very aggressive in their pressing, which gives them more possession.
And we saw it again in this match, as if PSG were building with a more traditional back four, either like this, or with Vitinha or Neves dropping in, Bayern's shape would instantly shift, with Musiala and Kane leading the charge through the center, and the wingers covering the wide regions, backed up by Kimmich and Pavlovic on the two deepest midfielders. The issue presenting itself, of course, is a midfielder moving into the front line means that they're depleted here, and could potentially be overloaded. But the man-to-man was so aggressive that ideally, rather than having a centre-back step in and potentially create more structural vulnerability here, Company preferred his right back to tuck into the mid.
So maybe that's why Stanisic also started the game. But I mean, Leimer could have played that role perfectly. Again, I think more Leimer not starting was because Davies was only able to play 45 minutes or something. But so he wants him to tuck in, because I always saw Stanisic, Company wants him to turn into as a centre back, because we will see Upamecano now go to Kvaratskhelia, I think.
Midfield and often pick up Zaire Emery.
Yeah.
When we think of Bayern and fluidity, we're usually talking about their attacking shape. But this encounter was a perfect example of how great they are at adapting their man-to-man system on the fly when defending. As in that first half, PSG often built in a back three, with Mendes tucking in, which meant that Bayern could maintain a roughly similar pressing shape.
Oh, look at Stanisic following Warden Zaire Emery. And I've seen some Bayern fans, they were complaining about Dembele's 5th goal. They were saying that where was Stanisic? Well, this is the football that you guys play. It's not that Stanisic was ass. It's probably because he was following Warren all the way to the defense and just wasn't there in terms of... Because I saw a lot of Bayern fans complain and basically scapegoat Stanisic. And it was truly embarrassing from so-called a club that is pushing for the Champions League.
But rotations are a massive part of how PSG keep possession. So often they had a midfielder drop in, drawing in Kimmich or Pavlovic even higher. So it would be up to Elise to tuck in to prevent the overload instead. Failing that, the centre-backs were also great at identifying the last-ditch scenarios where it was up to them to step up for the press. Different solutions for different scenarios. And the result of this? Well, it worked. And this high pressure, combined with PSG's midfield often maintaining large spaces between each other, meant that if the highly technical PSG players occasionally got caught on the ball, Bayern could win it, leading to instant counterattacks, which happened on a few occasions.
Yeah, because one thing with Bayern as well, I rarely see them press our goalkeeper and centre-backs like from the get-go, from a kickoff. They basically sit in like a very aggressive mid-block in our own half, wait for us to lose the ball as in this position. Oh, this was obviously a major opportunity right here. It's a massive save from Safonov, but it's way more of a big chance missed from Olise, in my opinion.
But remember how we just said that this defensive system worked for Bayern? Well, it worked sometimes, because when it failed catastrophically.
And that's the thing, like both Bayern and PSG, Bayern a little bit more to some certain extent, high risk, high reward. When it works out, we saw Olise got big ass opportunities from that. When it doesn't work out, well, we'll see now.
Because PSG could use some of the most common ways of breaking a man-to-man press effectively. Physicality, which is usually pace, running power, or strength. Technicality, which is usually dribbling. Associative play, which is combination play, or taking advantage of temporary communication errors. Man-to-man marking requires exceptional coordination, with defenders either knowing to stick to their man across the pitch or when to pass them on to a teammate. One error means there's usually an unmarked man, leading to easy progression like we see here.
Sanis just presses the pivot. Press is now backed up by center backs. Wow. And that's one thing I actually noticed a lot from the game. We see Desiridou on the left side here. Because this fucked up. Because Davis is the one man marking Desiridou, and we can see Davis right there. So that was something I actually noticed during the game, that Dua was dropping to central areas and sometimes going all the way to the left, losing his marker, which helped Paris Saint-Germain out of possession.
Or much worse, like we see here.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, that's as the YouTube channel name, Football Made Simple. That's it. Hakimi makes the inverted run, and you can see Limer's on Dua. Luis Diaz is marking Hakimi. Doesn't seem to run behind. Limer pushes up to meet Dua, and it's an amazing ball from Vitinha as well. And we obviously score from this. Beautiful dummy.
Man-to-man also creates built-in 1v1s, which is fine against most teams with 1 or 2 danger men. But PSG have 3 genuine dribblers up top, and 2 fullbacks who are quick, as well as midfield technicians. This, of course, means there's a decent chance of a man being beaten and completely opening up the game.
Cooks him. Oh, wait,
And all of this was particularly
devastating
as the rotations and combinations between PSG's men would exaggerate these scenarios. Higher up on the pitch, we often saw them move into rough 3-2-5 shapes, with the front line looking to push the defense deep. Particularly if Bayern's pressing pack were drawn high up the pitch, it now created a chasm for PSG men to drop into, and the man-to-man pressing would create natural gaps in the backline, which PSG were more than technical enough to take advantage of.
Yeah, this is where we got the Kvaratskhelia goal from. And I actually rewatched this goal recently. You can see Due on the left flank. You can see Vitinha is taking the Due spot at the moment. Hakimi pushes up. So that's why I love Due in that position, because he's so versatile in that position that he can move on into the midfield, into the left side like this, especially with Hakimi and Vitinha taking a spot. And then Upamecano can see follows him there. Beautiful. Bop, bop.
The disadvantages, of course, for PSG were also present because of how they attacked, as these heavy rotations would mean that if they did lose the ball, if Bayern countered quickly, there were plenty of men out of position. That could be paired with the fact that they often still had plenty of numbers high up from the pressing phase, mean that Bayern could look lethal on the counter-attack, particularly down the PSG right, where Hakimi was much more aggressive than Mendes, especially in that first half. But it wasn't just the counter where Bayern looked dangerous. What did they do when they were in possession? And just before we take a look at what Bayern did in possession and the risks they were willing to take when they had the ball, if you're a true tactical nerd and want to take your understanding even deeper, sign up for Football Fundamentals through the link down in the description of tactical analysis often look to prove over the course of 30 days. And like I said, it's completely free. PSG did often look to press high, but weren't quite as front foot as Bayern.
Yep, exactly as I said.
But still, that initial pressure meant that Bayern weren't building in a slow, controlled pace, meaning we saw less of the forwards dropping super deep in the first phase to pick the ball up off the centre-backs or the goalkeeper. But still, even when they did get higher up the pitch, Kane and Musiala were operating almost as dual 10s as we've seen throughout the season, looking to drop deep and draw defenders to potentially create room in behind for the wingers, or at least isolations.
No, this is a very great tactic from Bayern. A little bit similar in the sense of, Dembele false nine, Harry Kane false nine, but this is just what a dropping striker gives you. He makes the wingers so good. That's why I've said, I remember when Kane was linked to Barca, I said Kane would be so great for Barca because he would make the wingers better. You want this type of if you have great wingers, you want this type of a central attacker, someone that can score goals. I mean, Kane has the most goals and most GA so far this season, but they can also do this. And this obviously opened up Olise scoring, Diaz scoring. Wow, look at how open we are there.
And interestingly, especially early on, PSG's pressing shape was highly aggressive, and we saw Hakimi push high down the right onto Alphonso Davies, meaning that Marquinhos
Exactly.
would move into a temporary right-back position, and Neves had to take up the role of following the dropping forward. And while PSG may not have been made to pay for this shape directly, it was high risk, and they did look vulnerable at times. And of course, for Diaz's incredible goal, we saw Kane drop deep and his playmaking find the Colombian running in behind.
Yeah, insane goal. I mean, this is an insane pass, insane run, insane composure, insane finish, man.
And high up the pitch, Bayern Munich's intentions were clear early on, with the fullbacks tending to invert infield, while Olise and Diaz hugged the touchlines. And with Kvaratskhelia often having one eye on the transition, and this being facilitated by Zaire Emery pushing wide in defense, it presented the opportunity for isolations. And normally, where Mendes looks great in the 1v1, Olise did have plenty of success, leading to some dangerous.
I think he drew past him 5 times. Never seen this. I mean, I guess since Jadon Sancho, Nuno Mendes needs to have a top performance second leg so that we can say, it was just one bad game. Nuno Mendes has to lock up Olise.
But again, the fluidity meant that the positions of the wingers were not fixed on the touchlines, and they could drift in, with the fullbacks then often looking to move wide instead, like we see with Olise's goal, as rather than drop deep, as he moves central, with Stanisic holding the width, and rather than drop deep, the front two push high.
Yeah, and this is where we can see the constant movement and rotation just affecting us because nobody was following Olise and he was completely open. So I was complaining about the defense for this goal and I was still complaining a little bit, but maybe once again it's just great offense beats great defense.
Forcing the centre-backs deep, creating room for Olise to turn. Throughout the season, we've seen that Bayern are all in on company's style of play. That means when they attack, if they lose the ball, they look to instantly make the pitch as small as possible, and then counter-press. This means that naturally, they leave a lot of potential for isolations and space for the transition. And they looked extremely porous on the break, and PSG with their attackers were sure to make them pay.
Poof, look at that. Back heel, down booze, Hakimi, down booze. What a pass. Yeah, this was a do-it,
A classic first leg encounter means the second leg is perfectly set up, with only one goal in it. But I want to know 2 things from you down in the comments below. What do you think both managers could have done better tactically in?
Well, could have both managers done better tactically? I don't know. Both, as he mentioned in this great video, I just want to say, both teams play high risk, high reward. That's why we got so many goals from both sides. PSG scored many goals because we took high risks and we got high reward from it. But we also took a high risk, which means Bayern got a high reward from it. And they also took a high risk, which meant we got high reward from it. It was just an endless cycle. And that's why it was 5-4. Because high reward, high risk from both teams equal just a lot of goals. What both managers could have done different? No, I just think they both play their philosophy. Both managed this game as they want to manage it. And the outcome was, what they set up for. I don't think that many changes. Maybe you look at substitutions mid-game. Maybe Leimer should have started the game for Bayern. Maybe Fabiano and Barcola should have come on a little bit later for Paris Saint-Germain.
This match. And who do you see going through to the final?
Paris Saint-Germain. Again, it's maybe biased because I'm a Paris Saint-Germain supporter, but I was impressed how we just continue scoring goals for fun, and I think we'll do the same thing. It'll be harder for Bayern to defend us than it is for us to defend against them because we have better attackers. And that's because Bayern have great attackers, just we're more lethal. I mean, we scored 5 goals from 2 big chances. They scored 4 goals from 6 big chances. We need less to score more. They need more to score less.
After the second leg. Of course, in a match as hectic as this, it's impossible to company, and Enrique's styles of plays have been so effective this season. Check out this video on screen now.
Well, a really great, interesting video. Make sure to check it out. But basically, the summary: both teams play high risk, high reward, and that's why we got this endless cycle of just constant attack, constant goals from both teams. And as I said, I don't think Bayern played a bad game. I don't think PSG played a bad game. Both teams conceded 4+ goals, PSG 4 and Bayern 5, but both teams honestly played a great game. And this is just what happens when these two type of teams face up against each other in a Champions League semi-final in the first leg, though. I do think the second leg will be a little bit more defensive and conservative, but we'll leave the second leg for another time. But great video reacting to her. I think he explained the game very well from both sides. And honestly, high risk, high reward is exactly what led to the outcome of this game. But yeah, hopefully you guys have enjoyed this reaction. That's been it from boy PSG. Make sure to check out this video down below in the description. And as usual, allez Paris.